May 3rd, 2014. Most of you have heard that today they announced they had confirmed the first case of the MERS virus in the U.S. in Illinois. Said a health care worker had traveled to Saudi Arabia was confirmed as the first U.S. case of Middle East respiratory virus, an often fatal illness raising new concerns about the rapid spread of such diseases. Said the male patient traveled via British Airways flight on April 24th from Riyadh, that's in Saudi Arabia, to London, where he changed flights at Heathrow Airport to fly to the U.S. He landed in Chicago and took a bus to an undisclosed city in Indiana. Guys, why would that be undisclosed? Wouldn't you want to warn everybody and at least start getting some people to come in and be tested? It says on April 27th, he experienced respiratory symptoms, including fever, cough, shortness of breath. According to the Indiana State Department of Health, the man visited the emergency department at Community Hospital in Munster, Indiana, on April 28th and was admitted that same day. Because of the travel history, Indiana health officials tested him for MERS and sent the sample to the Center for Disease Control, which confirmed the presence of the virus on Friday. The virus is similar to the one that caused severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS, which emerged in China in 2002 and killed some 800 people. Now, they're saying that the MERS disease was first detected in Saudi Arabia in 2012. Now, they found the virus in 2012, but let's go back in time. It says the Saudi Arabian food chain has been widely contaminated with genetically modified ingredients, according to a new study. This started coming out, guys, in 98, 2000. They've been fighting Monsanto. It says the findings include controversial Starlink maize banned for human consumption in the U.S. for over 10 years. So the study published in the journal Applied Biochemistry and Biotechnology earlier this month found that genetically modified Starlink maize allowed for domestic animal feed only in the U.S. has been contaminating Saudi Arabian products. Starlink is a trademark for a type of genetically modified maize manufactured by Adventist Crop Science at the time when it was going through the American apparatus. Later, it was bought by Bayer. Back in 1998, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency approved the maize for domestic animal feed only, so the company manufacturing Starlink decided not to apply for a separate approval for human and animal consumption. But if the animals eat it, and you eat animals, where does it go? Nevertheless, residues of Starlink maize was detected in taco shells in September 2000, indicating that it had entered the human food chain. Now that's through your corn, directly through the corn, but the animals eat it. Following the findings, all genetically modified food was recalled, causing widespread disruption in the corn markets in 2000 and 2001. Adventist then withdrew its registration to Starlink maize varieties in October 2000 and promised it would be no longer be produced. Despite these assurances, aid sent by the UN World Food Program in the U.S. to a number of Central American nations was found to be highly contaminated with Starlink corn. 80% of the 50 samples tested came back positive. Let's just keep tracing this thing. It says just 2 weeks before the U.S. Department of Agriculture fully deregulated Monsanto's Roundup Ready alfalfa, we're going from corn to alfalfa, said a senior soil scientist alerted the department about a newly discovered microscopic pathogen found in high concentrations of Roundup Ready corn and soy that researchers believe could be causing infertility in livestock and diseases in crops that could threaten the entire domestic food supply. Dr. Don Huber, a plant pathologist and retired Purdue University professor, cornfields in Indiana, wrote in a letter to the USDA that the pathogen is new to science and appears to significantly impact the health of plants, animals, and probably humans. For the past 40 years, I have been a scientist in the professional and military agencies that evaluate and prepare for natural and man-made biological threats, including germ warfare and disease outbreaks. Said he wrote in the January 16th letter, based on this experience, I believe the threat we are facing from this pathogen is unique and of a high risk status. In layman's terms, it should be treated as an emergency. Nothing's been done. Let's go back 1 year, May 2013. The World Health Organization is now warning that the MERS coronavirus is a threat to the entire world. However, Dr. Anthony Fauci of the National Institute of Health in Bethesda, Maryland, stated that as of now, MERS-CoV does not spread in a sustained person-to-person way at all. Dr. Fauci stated that there's a potential danger in that it is possible for the virus to mutate into a strain that does transmit from person to person. Now, it has started doing that since a year. Said the infection of healthcare workers leads to concerns of human-to-human transmission, and that's what we saw today, Saudi Arabia. Now, pay attention. This virus could have very well been introduced. They're saying they think that it's coming from people that are drinking unpasteurized camel's milk. Now, what do they eat? But it says there's a research and IP controversy. It says Saudi officials had not given permission to Dr. Zakai to send a sample of the virus to Forshare, and they were angered when Forshare claimed the patent on the full genetic sequence. The Middle East of MERS. Says the editor of The Economist observed, he said, concern over security must not slow urgent work. Studying a deadly virus is risky. Not studying it is riskier. Dr. Zakai was fired from his job at the hospital as a result of sharing his sample and findings. He was not supposed to send this out of the country. But now, see, Forshare is Dutch. They now have the patent, and they've had the patent for a while. But now they control the test material, so they will be the first ones to come up with the antivirus for this, or the cure. They will make billions as it spread. First, it's going to thin the population is one thing, and then make Forshare and Bayer and those people extremely rich. But that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with genetically modified seed and feed that's supposed to be resistant to pesticides and herbicides and things like that. And have these, if you think about it, have some of these viruses been introduced? Again, it's a culling, like the Georgia Guidestone. If you get too many people and they revolt, how can you control them? Heads up, be safe.